Hello, this is for CIT 371, Linux System Administration. In this lecture, I'm going to be talking about logging management. So the goal of this lecture is to provide an overview on logging, including its purpose, benefits, and management methods. This will be some general information on logging, but we will be focusing on Linux to a point with it. We're going to talk about the journal CTL utility for Linux. After this, we will explore the syslog utility. And then at the end, I'll provide an overview of the logging management. So, logs. Concerning computers, logs are records of events that are automatically produced whenever events occur on a system. So log is basically just a message that tells you information on an event that happened on your Linux system. Now logs have a variety of sources. They can come from applications, they can come from the system itself, they can come from external devices like printers. Um, Logs are typically stored in one or more categorized files as timestamped text that detail an event and its seriousness. So logs are organized according to the time they are recorded, and you'll find a timestamp with the date or the year, the month, the day, and the time that it happened. Also, the seriousness of a log is also given like the priority level, like how serious is it? Is this something that's critically threatening a system, or is it just some general notification that you can probably safely ignore? Now, it seems like logs are pretty organized, and they are, but the problem is that they can be difficult to manage, and that's largely due to how many of them you get. I mean, not only are you getting them from multiple sources, you're getting swamped with tons and tons of logs as they're produced. What makes it more difficult is that some logs are just not really need to be read. They're just informational. They don't serve any purpose to an IT worker or any other person in an organization or any other person in a position where log reading is common. So it's very important that you learn how to properly filter and manage your logs to make them useful. So the reason we would want to record logs are the following. So logs record events that concern the safety and health of your system. So if your system has a problem, logs are pretty helpful to turn to because they can potentially tell you what is going on, and they can also provide some error messages that you can look up on the internet to learn more about a specific error. Logs also track when and how certain resources are used. This can help you determine if a security breach has occurred where um, some unauthorized user is abusing resources. Logs are also important for documenting data on system performance and usage. You not only can use this information for creating baselines or measuring what normal usage is, you can also use logs and this information to dictate when resource overuse is happening. Finally, logs can track changes to files and systems. This can be used for auditing purposes. Also very good for tracking unauthorized changes. Logs can help you maintain the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your files, systems, their resources, and your network. So there are many different types of logs. This CrowdStrike article lists the following. There's event logs for recording events for applications, network traffic, and other high-level resources. Server logs are concerned about actions that are performed by your system or your server, probably more like the physical hardware of it. There's system logs for documenting information about the operating system, including events that happened on it, like startup, system modifications, and the shutdowns and failures. Now, there's access or authorization logs that can be used for auditing the usage of files, applications, and other resources. There's change logs that can list changes that occur to a file or application. Availability logs can document performance, uptime, and availability for a system. Resource logs can detect connectivity to resources, and then threat logs can record information concerning the security of a system or application. These could be used for to check if events match a firewall security profile. So, about managing logs. Now, Linux does, by default, store logs in categorized files, but these files can grow incredibly large due to the numerous events that occur on systems. Because of this, it's important to know which logs to keep and discard. Also, older logs are often archived or deleted based on a schedule set by a company or user. In addition, having a centralized system to manage logs with make it significantly easier to organize and review them. So we're going to talk a little about the message priority levels of logs. So this is especially um, important for like syslog logs, but typically logs are good at indicating how serious they are when they're recorded. So there's various levels going from 0 to 7. 0 stands for emergency. This is a panic situation where a system is flat out unusable and it requires your immediate attention. You also have alert, crit, and error, which are various levels of seriousness that require um, pretty quick attention to just flat out immediate attention. Warnings are given for like a situation that could be serious, or they aren't necessarily inherently serious themselves, but could lead to more serious ones down the road. A notice is typically a potentially unusual event, but not one that really requires your attention, or at least your immediate attention. Info or informational logs just provide information on processes, but they aren't necessarily important to read at times because they could just indicate that your system's working normally. They don't require in-depth study like ones indicating issues do. Then there's debug logs that could be used for debugging purposes. They can tell you more detailed information on how a system is running and what's going on. One other thing I want to talk about is journal CTL. It's a topic I'm really glad that was added to this course recently, but according to this Name Hero article, which I use in this and other slides for journal CTL, Linux systems that use the systemd or use systemd utilize a centralized way to manage and review logs, and this is done through the systemd journal. So the journal basically is being used to record these logs and manage them. The utility is used to perform these tasks with the journal. With the journal is known as journal CTL. The advantage of this system is that it allows you to access all system logs from a single centralized location, well, specifically the journal I just mentioned. Journal CTL tool is needed for managing these logs due to them being stored in files in a non-human readable format in var/var/log/journal. So the journal CTL command allows you to read them and make them readable. So here's an example of a journal CTL log entry. So we have the month, May 28, or the day 28. We have the time here, and then we have the system that it's on, which is from a Fedora. In this instance, systemd, and then we have the message itself. So here are the following parts of these log entries in journal CTL. We have the timestamp formatted month, day, and time. We have the host name showing the host name of the system the log is on, the service and PID showing the service's name and process ID, and then we have the log's message providing the informative message that goes with the log. Journal CTL logs can also include additional fields if you want. You will be expected to learn how to use the journal CTL command in the lab, so just note that, please. We're going to be teaching journal CTL. You can pretty easily look it up in articles how to use it, so it won't be anything too hard. One final topic before the lab overview is syslog. Now, Linux utilizes syslog for with the logging protocol that allows logs to be sent over the network and centrally stored on dedicated servers. Now, you can also use syslog to control logs on native hosts, so kind of like journal CTL. Syslog sends certain logs to specific files determined by the settings implemented in the syslog daemons configuration file. The configuration file controls which logs are recorded by specifying certain severity levels that you want to keep. If you use these two features together, you can dramatically reduce the number of logs that your system stores, because they do take up space very quickly. You can also use syslog with cron tabs to archive or delete old logs after a specified amount of time. Like, for example, if you use a cron tab, you can use logs that are a week old, you can delete or archive them. So to configure syslog, we use the rsyslog service on Ubuntu. The service is just called syslog in other certain distros, but Ubuntu just wanted to be unique, I guess, and calls it rsyslog. So if you want to configure rsyslog, you got to go to eat/etc/rsyslog.conf. That's the configuration file for rsyslog. So the file contains many settings that you can use, but they're commented out, so they're unused by default. If you remove the hashtag for them, you can use them. There is an rsyslog website that you can access for a manual on rsyslog if you want more information on how to configure the file. So after editing the file, you must restart the rsyslog service, like with systemctl, for your changes to be applied. If you want to enable remote logging, you'll have to open the appropriate ports on your server's firewall for them to pass through. This is typically like TCP or UDP 514 by default. So configuring syslog rules. To control which logs are recorded, one or more rules need to be created. Our syslog on Ubuntu uses the 50-default.conf file to store these rules. So these rules have three parts. There's facility, which is the source of the logs. These are abbreviated words used to describe where they come from, such as kern for the kernel. Then there's priority, which describes the seriousness of the log message that you want to keep. Like, if you want to keep emergency logs, you can mention that. And then target file. This dictates the file that you're going to store these log messages in. So here's the two examples of some our syslog rules. So we got mail.err or error, and we're sending them to /var/log/mail.er or /err or error. If we want to collect all kernel messages, we do kern dot asterisk, which includes all logging messages of every severity level, and we can send them to /var/log/kern.log. Okie dokie, we're going to go to a little lab overview. So the logging management lab is going to have you practice using commands related to journalctl and syslog for extracting log information from your Ubuntu server. It's going to be a similar format to the system troubleshooting lab, where you're going to be given various prompts and you need to use like one command or so to respond to these prompts. Please pay careful attention to the provided hints. I have provided some hints for this lab, so it's not terribly difficult. They will help guide you how to use certain commands as well as how to find some others as well. But that's it for this lecture. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it informative. If you need any help with the lab or lecture, or any of the concepts discussed in the lecture, please let me know. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.